Good morning. It's a wake up call with myself and Alex. What is up? How's everyone feeling out of 10?
Out of 10, I would say a 3 out of 10. 3 out of
3
10
out of
seems
10.
appropriate. Yeah.
3 out of
I'm still a
10.
little sick, so
Okay, still kicking it. All right, cool. Well, let's get this show started. We got let me make sure my volume. There we go. I don't make sure there was not like a double feed or something like that. All right, we got the wake up call. The top story is the fear and greed at the lowest point that it's been since the Japan cut.
fear and greed, score of 21 for those on TikTok who can't see it. So extreme fear, and this is one of those things. Okay, I've talked about fear and greed before. In November of 2020, we hit a score of 90. And if you sold your Bitcoin when Fear and Greed had scored 90, you would have sold at $15,000. You would have sold $400 Ethereum, 0.3 of a cent Doge. And so it's not not a strict buy when everyone's fearful and sell when everyone's greedy. But it's a tool, just like everything else. And it makes sense. I think a big thing that's factoring into this fear is, again, I've talked about this a ton, but the unreasonably high expectations heading into 2025, which I was just always one of those mindsets. Let's let the market lead us. I think in general, it's better to be a buyer right now than a seller, and so we'll see how this goes. But what do you think?
I like to really look at I like to lean into fear and greed really only at maximum capitulation. Like I don't really care. I think it's nothing in between the moments. But when you do get like the lowest you've been since X date and it's been multiple months and then the price is crashing, I think that that's definitely when you can kind of play into it a little bit more. But to me, like the range in the middle almost means absolutely nothing. But when you put in factor of sentiment, especially with the Japan cuts, which we were live when that was happening, that was a scary moment for
Yeah.
a lot of retail, and a lot of retail sold and they got wrong footed. And I do think, structurally, it's a lot of the same as well.
Yes.
Trump announces gold card. You can enter into the United States if you pay $5 million.
Okay. Trump announces a gold card. I just I don't even know. I don't know what to say about this. I don't. Go ahead. I have no comment. I think it's
I
kind of lame, but whatever.
yeah, it's pretty. I agree. Moving along, Bitcoin hits $85,000, and CZ retweeted his post from 2017, waiting for which by the way, 2017 Bitcoin was maybe at $17,000. I don't know. We could look at it 12/17/2020, waiting for the headline. Bitcoin crashes from 101,000 to 85,000. Save the tweets. And then he retweeted it in honor of it actually coming to fruition. He manifested it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, of course. So I'm seeing a date there, December 17th of 2020. And so that was a very bullish time, but Bitcoin was around $20,000 at the time. And wouldn't have been crazy to think at that time that we would be scared at $85,000 Bitcoin. And here we are today in 2025. And then I wish what he would have said for the new headline. So it says waiting for the new headline: Bitcoin crashes from 1.001 million to 985,000. Is he should have done more like 850,000 or
800.
something.
I was thinking the same thing. 885. I think
Yeah,
is more appropriate. That would only be like a 12% correction. You know what I mean? That's not even.
I mean 985,000. That's less than 2%. So
Yeah, that's
nobody's going to
nothing.
be crying too much about that. That'll probably
Yeah, other
happen
than
time that Bitcoin gets to a million.
yeah, yeah, and we'll probably just like we did this time when we were just struggling to get above 100K, 100K, and then the first time we did it, we just went almost immediately to 106K. That's probably
Yeah.
what's going to happen when we finally break to 1 million.
Yeah.
All right, everybody's favorite game. It's time to play Bull or Bear.
Bull or bear?
Bitcoin will reach 30K before $118,000. Bull or Bear, Alex?
I'm bearish on that statement, which means I believe that that's not going to happen. So I am a bull. If you're going to put a gun to my head, I'm certainly going to choose 118,000 before 30,000.
Yes.
Um, I mean, it's funny. We laugh. Is anything possible? I'm just again. I am of the mindset. I am never going to say 100% literally anything aside from like, all right, if somebody says that's not happening, but I'd say the chances are very, very high that we will see 118K before we see 30K. I think, Devin, you would say that we will not see 30K again, and I am more of a mindset that we would. So I'll leave it at that.
Yes. I am a bear on this statement. I think 118,000 is next. I think that we never see 30 again. There's a lot of support, and just thinking about the supply, price equals supply plus demand. What was the stipulations that had us at 30K the last time? We would have to break through literal years of support. One, number two, the inflation on Bitcoin was double what it is right now. And by the time it gets back again, it might be less than a quarter of the inflation of what it was during that time. Three, institutions and governments are buying Bitcoin. Um, I actually think a bigger fear that I have is we are criminally underexposed to Bitcoin in that, like, if like we've talked about this a little bit, if the 4-year cycle ever gets broken, and I think it will someday, but I think it's going to be to the upside, and we skip a full like 70% correction, and then that to me is more plausible than us going to 30K. But yeah, we'll see. And again, I'm open minded to anything. I'm open minded to the charts changing my mind, but I think that there's a lot of support to get through. I don't think that we ever see 30K again. I think we'll be lucky to get to 50K, is what I personally think.
I like the mindset that we will be lucky to get to 50K because you want to buy 50K Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Whatever the case happens, I do think we're going, like, in the event of a recession, that we would get to 30K. But will I be buying Bitcoin at 50K if it gets there? Absolutely. I'm not waiting for anything anyway.
I'll probably be out of dry powder at 60K.
All right.
All right, bull or bear? Bitcoin is a better investment than real estate long term.
I'm a bull on that statement. Hey, I can be a bull. Finally, this is the first out of 5. I mean, really, I'm a bull, but seen consistently the amount of Bitcoin that it's to purchase the median house in the United States go down. So when Bitcoin first launched, I'm sure it was multiple hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin or more than that, and it's now down to, I don't know what the median house price in the United States would be, but let's just say 2.5 Bitcoin gets you a house. I think there's going to be a day when 1 Bitcoin would get you into a house. That half of a Bitcoin would get you into the median priced house in the United States, at least. And so, and we'll see about after that. But on a long enough timeline, I'm a mega bull on Bitcoin, and there's no stopping me on that. So,
All right, breaking news. Your boy Ski is a bear.
of course you are.
All right, I'm gonna say I'm a bear on this because my mom says in the comments that real estate is equal to Bitcoin, and I would agree. I think if we're talking, I would say that it's equal to real estate, and
Okay.
I view them very much the same. I think that if you're talking strictly ROI, Bitcoin is going to outperform real estate, but you can't live in Bitcoin. And my first love for investing was all about real estate. I read all the Robert Kiyosaki books. and there is something to investing into something physical. Now, yeah, strictly ROI. If that's the question, Bitcoin is going to be a better long term investment. But if we're talking like other factors, I think that they're equal, all things equal. For perspective, my house doubled over the last, I don't know, 4 years. Bitcoin definitely outperformed that, but it's still, I've been living here the whole time. So to me, it's equal. Both of those, you can't go wrong. I view them the same but different. All
Sure.
right, another game. We're all about the games. Keep it lighthearted. Overrated or underrated? I'm going to give you a statement or a coin or whatever, a topic, and you're going to tell me overrated or underrated.
Okay.
AI coins, overrated, underrated.
I want to say overrated. It reminds me a lot of Metaverse in 2022. It's like Facebook changed their name to Meta, and we saw all those Metaverse cryptos shoot off like crazy. And we all knew they had nothing to do with Metaverse, and so AI coins, it's kind of in the same light. Now, I will say during phases of euphoria, if you want to talk about like price of AI coins, or is it overrated or underrated? We could certainly get into a phase of having these same fake dreams in 2021. It was, hey, Ready Player One, that's down the road. In 2025, it can certainly be. AI is the future, and so these AI coins are going to be a part of that future. I really don't think that 99% of them are going to be part of any future that involves AI. But that's
Yes,
just my opinion.
I agree. So I think that the technology itself is not overrated. However, the AI coins are overrated. 99% of them, I would agree, are complete, utter nonsense. They just slap the buzzword AI on there. Now, I do think that there is the 1%, just like the
Yeah.
dot-com bubble. There was Amazon and Google during all the other nonsense, and they crashed 90% like everything else. I do think that there is the 1% that is absolutely going to revolutionize and change the world. However, the whole narrative as a whole, I think, is absolutely overrated. And I also agree with you that it can be overrated and still pump just like the metaverse coins. Two things can be true at one time.
Yeah.
All right. Ethereum staking, overrated, underrated.
Oh, Ethereum staking. I thought you were just going to say Ethereum. Oh man. I mean, I don't stake Ethereum. I gotta go overrated, man. It's like it's hard because I think at this point in time, I just, oh my goodness, I feel like lightning's going to strike down on me. Ethereum itself might actually be underrated. Oh my, I can't believe I'm saying that. Just given the sentiment with Ethereum, it might actually be underrated. Ethereum, but Ethereum staking, that implies long term holding with Ethereum, which I am not a fan of at all. And we've talked about this. I mean, we have this might be it as far as Ethereum being the number two crypto in all of existence this run. So
Yes. I think Ethereum is underrated right now. And, you know, the narrative, like I crap all over Ethereum, but let's be real. Ethereum needs to make another leg higher to really kick off the alt season this
yes,
time, in my opinion.
yeah,
So I do think that Ethereum is criminally underrated, but staking itself is so overrated. I think it's less secure than proof of work. Um, and you get less of a yield for sure. It's not even close. I think you're better off buying bonds because you're going to have less volatility and get similar yield. And I'm not even a huge fan of bonds, but you're going to get the same sort of 4 or 5% yield that you get from Ethereum without the crazy volatility.
yeah.
So Ethereum staking to me super overrated. All right, Solana's speed overrated, underrated.
Speed. Oh man. I guess I'll just say, can I just say properly rated? I mean, Solana. I don't think of anything special when I think of Solana speed. I mean, the only thing that makes me like, oh man, Solana is so fast, is whenever I try to do a transaction in Ethereum, and then I do a transaction in Solana, I'm like, oh, that's so convenient. But like, you do a transaction literally anywhere else other than Ethereum, you're feeling like, hey, that wasn't that bad. So I will say properly rated.
Properly rated. Okay, I'm gonna go with underrated just because of like how well it works. Just like what you said, it works so well that you don't even think about it.
Mm.
It's so fast that you don't even think about it until you use something that's not that. So I'm gonna say underrated, especially given this crazy stat that we brought up a few times that you know Ethereum is quadruple the market cap of Solana. The transaction fees are 100 to 1,000x more, and Solana is generating more revenue. And that is just an
Yeah.
absurd stat. An
Yeah.
absurd stat.
It's a good point.
All right, it's time for the charts. The moments everyone's been waiting for. I'm going to switch gears while I pull mine up.
Yeah. Okay. So the very first question that people have asked on this live stream is it over? And my response to you is I'll just refer to a tweet that I made yesterday. And it still very much applies. And it's for those, I'm sorry for those on TikTok, but on YouTube, here is a Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic. And you can remember the chart because I'm going to go back and forth between this chart and Bitcoin's chart. And I just want to point out exactly the same. I mean, there's actually very little between the two that I would say different. And so you can let's go back and forth. Somebody commented on that tweet that they don't look the same at all. I think that he was thrown off by the fact that I should have maybe extended the chart, drew like, instead of daily candles, done 4-hour candles. And you can see there's very strong similarities. And so where would we be if this is what we are in right now, in terms of reaccumulation, excuse me, we would be in the spring phase. And so what's the spring phase? The spring phase is the time where it feels like, oh no, we've just lost support. It's over. And so question, are we cooked? That's the kind of question that, not the kind of question, but the conclusion that a lot of people are going to make at this exact moment. The spring phase. I mean, even look, before the spring phase is what's called a creek, just a series of really tight, lower highs and lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And you look at Bitcoin and you can see the creek. You can see it perfectly, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low until the spring. And this is, I mean, if you look at crypto Twitter, I would say that even a lot of people who have been bullish, who have been promising you that, large accounts, I would say very smart people who would say that, yeah, it's over. And is it over or is it not? I mean, and then what does even over mean? I mean, there's a lot of questions that need to be asked with that. Here's my thing. I think it's premature. If you wish you could see my screen, go on YouTube. We've been talking about YouTube. It's premature. That's all I'm saying. It is premature to say that it's over. We need to see this play itself out. There are other things that I'm looking at here that I'm pretty encouraged by, including I had this open. I don't have it now, but others' dominance. And so Bitcoin is down 2%, 1.14% as of today. But then you look at the others dominance chart, and let me pull it up on my screen here. Others dominance is looking, actually for the last couple of weeks here, have been looking pretty good. So the same game plan is in place for me, and that is to buy on at the signs of a reversal and not try to catch the bottom. And as of right now, I'm still on the sidelines. And so what does that mean for those of you who've been holding since December? I'm sorry, at some point, you have to stop being married to certain ideas that have been fed to you for a very long time, and then take profits. I mean, like I said that I did do, selling 40% of my crypto in December. So that's where I land right now. if we there is a point where I would say it's time to, at least for a time. All right, let me just say this: if it were to be over, if we were to go even lower than the spring, or lose the spring, whatever, I don't even know how to define that. Um, Over for me means like we probably have a few months of either chop or down ahead of us. But as of right now, too early to call. Love to hear your thoughts.
All right. So I have a very similar thought. To me, this is especially we already talked about it a little bit about the Japan rate cuts, the fear being the maximum that we've been literally since that moment in time. We haven't had this much fear in the market. You have the same sort of thing. You have a just a downtrend of lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. We draw a line in the sand. You know, I've drawn this line myself, but we draw the line in the sand, and I'm gonna just put it right here so that everyone can see it. And the line in the sand was like 93K. I'm like, this is the support, and we did the same thing back here during the range, just the death range between 70 and 50 that we were in forever. And we drew the line at 57, 55. The line gets taken out with a violent, scary event. What was the violent, scary event? It was Germany and Mt. Gox selling their Bitcoin, right? And I was pretty certain that that was a local bottom. In fact, I made a video saying XYZ, here's why it's a local bottom. Okay. So that same thing exactly happened. We drew a line in the sand, 93K. 93K gets taken out, 89K. Big bag, scary event. The United States is selling their Bitcoin. Okay. Not only is it like a similar structure, it's almost a similar narrative. It's just a different country selling their Bitcoin, right? Quote. And then we draw another line in the sand. Okay, we say, okay, so this is the low, this is the max scary event, 53K. That was the local bottom. Okay, and it was, and it held for almost a month. And the same thing happened. That held for almost a month, and then you have one more blow off top scary. This time it was the Japan rate cuts. We went all the way to 49, and this time right here it was the tariffs. That was the news. Okay, but in reality, so I have the same thoughts. That's the same exact reaccumulation setup. It's also, I'm not a huge patterns guy, but that is a bull flag. And all it's doing right now is back testing the prior range at the 200 moving average to confirm it as the spring for my theory and Alex's theory too, because we have a similar, we have the, I would say the same theory right now for Bitcoin. To confirm it, what we're going to be looking for, if it's a spring, it should be 1 to 10 days. We are out of here, a minimum 95K.
There
And
we go.
probably 100K. And what we're going to be looking for is a higher low, which I am right now in this moment. So most of the time I'm talking super macro analysis and I'm macro bullish, right? In this moment in time right now, today, I have not been this bullish, especially in regards to the altcoins, that I have been since the Japan rate cuts in this micro moment right now. And I would say even the altcoins, when we pull things up, it's even ahead. Like if we pull up the total 3 or the total 2, we're printing a higher low. So it's like, this is what we want to see. On the left, I have Bitcoin. We want to see a higher low to start to come in. And this is what we're already getting with a 90+% of the altcoins.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Bitcoin put in a lower low than that liquidation wick with the tariffs, and altcoins have put in a higher low. That's something worth having as a data point. That's not insignificant. And now I am, man, I'm curious to see what happens. I mean, I who cares, man? It's the charts, and that's the thing I pay attention to the most. Just an observance. We saw the spot Bitcoin ETFs sell $500 million worth of Bitcoin, or have out $500 million worth of Bitcoin outflows on Monday, and then another billion yesterday. And so I'm curious to see what the rest of the week looks like. I would love to see a slowdown in that, and maybe we will, because it does seem like it turns on a dime. That's an observation that I've paid attention to lately. In December, the inflows for Bitcoin were just off the charts, insane until the moment it wasn't. And so hopefully we'll see some kind of reversal in that regard for Bitcoin. But what you're saying about the 1 to 10 days is helpful. I was trying to process that, because you look at the chart, and you see a moment that you want to identify as the spring moment, and then, okay, what's a confirmation that this was the spring? I was trying to process that, and I didn't have an answer. So you just gave the answer: 1 to 10 days, at least
It,
95,000, right?
yes. And it could be as high as 100,000. That would be confirmation that that was the spring. 10 days would be the maximum, but
Yeah,
realistically, it could happen tomorrow, honestly.
yeah. And so I'm sure somebody is thinking this in their heads. What happens? What do we do if it's not, 1 to 10 days from now, it's not at those price levels? We'll just have to we'll have to wait and see. I mean, another scenario that was playing itself out in my head was that, given that how long was that chop from, well, I mean, I can answer this, I guess, from what, like March until November. I mean, we chopped. I don't have that on my screen here, but um let me pull it up. From March until November, we chopped, while putting in
That
slightly
was like,
higher lows. Sorry, slightly lower highs. Was that 200 days or so?
yeah, 220 days.
Yeah, so
And
there were multiple times when I wondered, is this the spring? And in particular, like April 30th or July 5th and August 5th ended up being, I think, what we would define as the spring. But there were multiple times. So, I mean, what if, I would say, for Bitcoin over the next few months, the worst case scenario is like perhaps we have another prolonged range like the one we saw from March to November. But
yeah, okay. So for me, in hindsight, right now, just how I feel about the targets, the downtrend, I would say the moment, um, like I had a lot of clarity when Bitcoin went to $53,000. It crashed from like 70 to 53,000. I think it was 71,000 to 53,000 in a matter of like a week. Okay. And even like you could even go, so that was a month actually, but it even went from like this little peak from 63 to 53. That was 5 days.
are you sharing your
Okay.
screen right now?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So that was 5 days. So this moment right here from 63 down to 53 was 5 days. And I had very much clarity. And I made a video the day it was happening, and people were pissed that I was saying that the bottom was in. And that ended up being a good call, because we, like, for the next 30 days, that was the local bottom. And that's what I called it. We did 29% to the upside almost immediately from there. And in hindsight, that moment feels the same to me as the Bitcoin selling off, or the United States selling their Bitcoin moment. And that was a local bottom. I said it was a local bottom, and it was. And we did the same sort of move to the upside immediately, 23% instead of 29%. Immediate sort of dead cat bounce, if you will. And then this moment right here, this is where everyone showed up in my comments. You're like, nana boo boo. A month ago, you said the local bottom was in, but now we're $2,000 less. What the hell, Ski? Um, that was this moment. And then I made another video the same day again, and I was saying this is a local bottom. Here's X, Y, and Z, Y. I think that we don't go lower from this moment. And to me, this sentimental moment, especially looking where we're at, we're on top of the 200 moving average. This is the same sentimental moment, structural moment, technical moment to me as this. And again, confirmation is we need to be within the next 10 days, we need to be about $95,000 would confirm this. We talked about this off camera, um, that I do see a scenario, if my theory were to be wrong, where Bitcoin fills out the CME gap to 78, but the altcoins have already bottomed because they are already making higher lows. So that would be my I'm wrong thesis.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm trying to process your I'm wrong thesis. Okay, so altcoins, so a move to filling the CME gap at what, 78, but altcoins are still are what, put it like in an uptrend now?
They just don't take out the low. They might be just ranging. They might just be boring. You know what I
Okay.
mean? If
Yeah.
that were to happen, I don't think that that's going to happen. I think I am very confident that this is the same moment right here. This is the Wyckoff reaccumulation. Sentiment is at 21. So like what you don't get 1.5 billion wiped from the markets, and that's not even the Bybit hack. That's from liquidations. 1.5 billion wiped. Fear and greed's at 21. You're at the 200 moving average. You just had a giant crash, and then you go lower. Like there's not more to grab. And when we look at like look at the RSI, like we are definitely oversold at this point.
Yeah.
Definitely oversold at this point. Does that mean that we're going off to off to Valhalla tomorrow? That's not what that means. But I think that this is the local bottom.
All right. So when I respond like that, I'll write, and then I do what some would interpret as a nervous laughter. It's not that I disagree with Devin. I lean more towards this is the spring moment. It's just
Same.
I'm so open to any possibility, and I want to be flexible here. That it's hard in the moment. It's hard in the moment. So I'm very curious to see how this plays itself out.
Yeah, let me be clear. I don't suspect that that's going to happen. I have very high confidence that this is the local bottom, and we're going to see 95,000 at a minimum in the next 10 days. That is my highest probability move right now.
All right. Well, I have no other things to talk about in particular with the broader perspective, but questions. I mean, we tended to respond to questions. So, anything stick out?
Someone was asking me my thoughts on Pi Network.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
yeah, I'm not a fan. It's crazy to me that it got to over $1 billion market cap. That's insane. It's a top 10 coin. That's insane to me. I am a miner. Like I know what mining crypto looks like, and I know that your phone does not have the computational power
Yeah.
required to do that. What they are mining is your data, and if you're okay with that, then that's fine. I'm not. Privacy is important to me. Um, people have this weird notion of like, well, what do you have to hide? I'm like, well, shower with your door open. Then what do you have to hide? Like
Oh
sleep with
man.
your door unlocked. What do you have to hide? So yeah, that's my thoughts on Pi. I'm not a fan. I'd love to be just like face meltingly wrong, but
Hmm.
I don't like it.
I
Uh,
I don't even care to comment on it. I've never liked pie.
um, yeah, never sell your Bitcoin. Real estate. Oh, so I'm even reading some of the old comments. Um, Bitcoin making new lows. I don't think so. I don't think that Bitcoin makes a new low. I think that that's a very low probability right now.
I mean, how would you define a new low? Like, can it go lower than where it went to this morning before we went live? Uh, it could. It was quite an interesting bounce. I was really fascinated by the price action. I think there was a lot of selling off before the stock market opened in anticipation of a further sell-off, and then as soon as the stock market opened, it bounced. Because of course, I mean, the market's always going to keep you on your toes. It's going to zig when you expect it to zag. And so where do we go from here? We'll just, all right, next 1 to 10 days, let's see what happens.
Someone asked me what I thought, my thoughts on another creator saying that Elliott Wave top confirmed. I don't have any thoughts on other creators.
Okay. I'll be real. I don't pay attention. I don't know enough about Elliott Waves to give any thoughts on that.
Yeah, there's only like there's a couple of people, like on one hand, less than that I really respect their TA. And not that I disrespect others, it's just like I'm not going to pay it any mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm of a similar mindset. I just, it's information overload. You get beyond a handful of people. I have three or so on who are not on TikTok, you know, who I'll give some credence to what they're saying. But
yeah, that's I think I got about 2 or 3. That's about it. So
yeah,
the Fibonacci tool is something accurate so I can trust to make exit levels.
it's a tool.
I believe in the Fibonacci a lot. It's not everything. Like the trick with every indicator, with every tool, with every whatever, like here's the key: discretion. And that's the secret. And that's a boring cop out answer, but that's the truth. Is like you have to use discretion. But I think it does give you a good starting point to look for. But like for me personally, like when I'm looking at different coins, like I like to see where did they go to last time? What levels do they seem to honor? Some of them honor the 702, some honor the 618, some honor the 2618, some honor the 3618. But the key is you got to use discretion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, fibs are just another. I mean, I like to use fibs when there's rapid swings in prices. I like to use fibs when looking at. It's really interesting now that I'm thinking. I'm thinking out loud. It's good. It's good for short-term analysis, and it's good for multi-cycle analysis. Um, excuse me. I mean, like I'm getting very cautious at certain retrace levels above the all-time high, and definitely looking at those as places to remove positions, remove gains. So
Well, I'll just say like XRP at 333 was the 1618.
yeah,
So
there you go.
that's where I got that target from. And like I just put in some like woo woo, XRP is part of the club. So that's where I got the $3.33 target from. And it ended up being 335. So
Yeah.
can you show the correct way to make a fib? Again, it's discretion. I can show you how I do it, but I go from the base of the top. I don't like to count wicks. And then I go to the wick low. I don't like to count wicks to the upside. That's generally how I do it. But, I might, if you ask 10 different fib people, you'll get 10 different answers. I would just say figure out what works for you and just do that.
Yeah. I'll do wicks sometimes. It just depends. I mean, you did a wick on that one at the bottom there, but
Yeah, at the bottom. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm more willing to look at the bottom wicks than I am the top. I like to go from the base to the top to the wick of the low is what I will generally do. But I will if it doesn't make sense, then I will change it. So you could ask me that question 10 different times, but the key is like you have to use discretion.
I'll answer a question. I've gotten this question a couple of times, and this is just my opinion. Is it time to buy alts? So I mean, I gave my initial analysis, calling this potentially the spring level on a Wyckoff reaccumulation, which is usually a bottom And well, I mean, by definition, the bottom, if we are following Wyckoff reaccumulation. And yet, I said that I am not yet a buyer. I am waiting for a reversal. I'm waiting for something other than just. I think even now, even if we're both right, this is the bottom. This is the spring moment. I'm not trying to catch the bottom. What I'm waiting for is a confirmation of the spring moment, with the hopes that I'm buying within 10% or so of the bottom. So I'm not a buyer right now. That's just me. I'm not a buyer. Pull up my screen, Devin. So for those on
Yep.
YouTube, I have the total two chart on my screen here. And what does that look like? I mean, at the very least, it looks like a breakthrough to the upside of a trend, and then a back test of that trend line. And so the second trend here, um, we we are pretty far off from that. So I mean, you could make a case for short term buying that. Sure, you know, you want to do some short term trading. I'm always going to do some short term trading. Didn't you buy some crypto last week? I dipped my toes in, and I'm down on all that. I did say I was sure I'm going to dip my toes in on cryptos with charts that looked good, and I'm down on that right now, and I'm just going to continue to hold those for the short term at least.
Um,
So
so I got to answer a question real quick. Someone said, "Why are you bearish on Solnick?" You said $1, and now you're saying 7.5 cents. I'm not bearish on Solnick. 7.5 cents is my beard bet. So I have a low, medium, bull case. Um, so sooner this bull run or the next, we will get to the $1. This bull run or the next, we'll get to 5.89. But the beard bet is 7.5 cents, as in before the bull run is over, I will shave my beard if we do not get to 7.5 cents. I have a low, medium, high case target. So there you go. That's my. I'm not bearish on Solnick at all. Not even a little bit.
oh my goodness.
Um, so yeah, that is that. Okay, I want to say something too. Like as far as like maybe the difference between me and Alex is, I am more the thing that scares me more is being a day late and $1 short. Um, and so just generally, if you were to like sort of know how we sort of move, Alex likes to wait for the confirmation, which is a smarter thing to do and a lot of times. And I am generally too early on stuff. Like I will see things painfully in advance. Um, like I both to the upside and to the downside. This happens all the time. Like I started being bearish on XCN at 2.5 cents rather than 4.5 cents, even though I said it's probably going to go to 4.5 cents. I started being bearish on Sui at like $4 and not $5. And I'll be bullish a little bit early too, because I would rather not wait for the day that never comes. That's my personal, the way that I move. So both to the upside and to the downside. And this is what I was talking about last night. There's going to be a time when I'm going to be bearish and everyone is going to be pissed at me that I'm bearish. And it's going to be like I'm going to miss a full 20% or whatever it is on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets. But the day is not today. But it will happen. Like I'm going to be bearish on Bitcoin and it's going to be, and guess what? It's going to go higher than what I was bearish at. Just like I was bearish on XRP and it went higher than what I was bearish at. But that is for me and the way that I do things, that keeps me in the right flavor for the most amount of time. And that's really all you need to do is just be in the right flavor.
And you know what? That's perfectly fine. It's I mean the thing that I have a hard time with is it's not that you want to buy a little too early. You think I trust your ability to do that. The thing that just kills me is, you know, from December to today, most people, what they're preaching is buy the dip in DCA. and that has not worked out. Worked out very poorly for people from January 1st of 2024 today. There were times that they were. I mean, there's people who, if they were DCAing into certain cryptos between January 1st and now, they're down. They're down. And I'm just not a preacher of that. And when's the time to DCA? I mean, for me, it's in the bear market, and then after that, I want to try to time things. I'll DCA in the bear market. I'll suffer short term losses in the bear market, but after that, it's like
Yeah,
no.
I aggressively DCA in the bear market, and I do more of swing trading, but I make my positions too early a lot of times, and I'm okay with that because I don't want to miss the move. Um, but yeah, I will say the reason that I preach that a lot to retail. So if you go to, from November until now, you're down on your DCAing. But if you zoom out even more, if you were DCAing at the absolute top of 2021, you started buying $100 a week, you've like 2x your money.
In
You've 3x
Bitcoin,
your money.
yes,
Yes.
not in Ethereum.
At,
Oh
not in
wait, never
Ethereum, no.
mind. I mean, if you DCA'd throughout the bear market, I mean, you're probably down, even if you DCA'd throughout the bear market on Ethereum.
I don't think so. I don't think you're down because it spent so much time below 1,000
Okay.
and below 2,000. You're probably up about because that was when Bitcoin was at like 40,000 is when the stat sort of came out. You would be up if you started in 2021 when Bitcoin was at 40,000, not a new all time high. Buying $100 every week, you would have been up 50% when Bitcoin was at 40,000.
Okay.
So, and I just like retail. I don't know. I think retail really overestimates their ability to trade.
That's
And
true.
I don't think 99% of people should leverage trade. I think that most people should spot trade and just buy at spot prices because you don't get liquidated at spot prices. You can just be
Yeah,
down.
I'm with you on that.
So, anyways, I just wanted to clarify how me and Alex both sort of view the market, so that you can make an informed decision. You should be making your own sort of thesis and theories and decisions, but just to like show our biases a little bit. Uh, that's how I view things, and that's how he kind of views things, which is okay. Both has worked well for both of us.
Yes. What else?
Uh, All right, so we got a question here. What about the argument that retail is better prepared and more cynical this time? Even my normally friends talk about 4-year cycle, post halving, etc. Maybe this tamper the gains a lot. To that, I would say, well, that's what this is then. Bitcoin is having a different structure in a lot of ways. And this violent crash that we're having when just a few weeks ago, a few months, like a month ago, 2 months ago, greed was at in the 80s, and now we're in the 20s, and sentiment is just completely dead right now for retail. And so that's the game that's being played right now, in my opinion, is shaking as much retail as possible because people have this idea and this notion of they're not going to let us all be rich. And to that, I would say, I agree. And here is the price to be paid. The price is emotional warfare. And most retail is not equipped or accustomed to dealing with that.
I'm not sure I really understand the question. Retail is better prepared and more cynical this time. All right, I'm putting some pieces together. Maybe this will tamper the gains a lot. I mean, we are buying something that we know is much worth. It's not worth what we're paying for it. Uh, we know that somebody's going to be a loser, and we're all hoping that we don't that we're not the ones who are the losers. But most of the time, retail is the no. All the time, a large majority of retail is the loser. Will this tamper gains? Uh, Here's what I'll say: if the market, so 2021 was beautiful in many ways, in the sense that it was flat throughout the entire bear market, and then it just all in one swoop just popped off. And I think the big reason why is that there was a great deal of doubt that a 2 cent Cardano was just, that it wasn't dead, and then it wasn't dead, and it went up to $3. And this time around, we're all like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to see such and such cryptocurrency that went down 95% in the bear market come back and put in a new all-time high. And so the market is punishing that level of confidence and conviction, and perhaps at the time when we least expect it, then would be the time when we would see those big gains after a lot of people have thrown in the towel. A big reason why I'm very open to the possibility of 2026 being a very bullish year for crypto and a break to the upside. And if any of you accuse me of kicking the can down the road, I'm going to find you and smack you up like crazy, because I've been talking about this for a very long time. All right.
He will find you.
I will find you.
Someone said, "Are you not retail?" I am retail. You are
I'm
retail. We
retail.
are all retail. The quicker that you embody the fact that you are not going to outsmart BlackRock, the better you're going to be, in my opinion.
I
Uh,
I fully admit I am retail. I already ensured that I won this cycle in March of 2024 when I sold more than half of my crypto, and 90% of you called me crazy for doing so. So
yeah, I
I'm
ensured I
retail.
won with XRP. I held for like 5+ years, DCA'd for 5+ years, and then I sold when everyone was like, I felt. Listen, if I'm being real, if I'm being honest, I really felt the pressure socially of moving the goalposts on XRP. But the thing is, and this is what I think is really important, do I think I'm this like masterful like maneuver? No, I don't think that. I think that I had a plan in place when things were boring, and I stuck with my plan. And I think that that's what you should do too. I think you should set up a plan when it's boring, because fear will get you, greed will get you, and boredom will get you. So set up a plan when it's boring, and then don't move the goalposts when you get into euphoria. If you're worried about it, if you want to have an insurance policy, have a moon bag for insurance policy, but take it to the house.
Do you think there's a known catalyst coming soon to pump? I'd be curious. I'm curious to know your thoughts on that. I have no idea.
I mean, I guess the one would be um, just the reserve,
Yeah, the reserve. If and when that happens,
or the stimmies, the $5,000 stimmies, the
that's
Doge
true.
check. Those would be the most obvious ones. But I mean, like I kind of relate it to BlackRock ETF. You know, when we were, that's what I would call 2023. I would call it a retracement year, where a lot of stuff just went to the, or Bitcoin specifically went to the 618 Fibonacci retracement. Solana's market cap went to the retracement. Ethereum went to the retracement. A lot of the total 2, the total 3, all that stuff did a retracement from 2023 into 2024, and now it's kind of back testing. That was the narrative that we were waiting for, and covering content through the bear market. I can tell you, like, I was covering this story forever, waiting for the BlackRock ETFs to actually get approved. Forever, 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 forever. And it was boring, boring, boring until it was not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same sort of thing.
I'll just say, I mean, we're always looking for catalysts. I mean, a catalyst would be great. Like in 2021, when Tesla bought $1.2 billion of Bitcoin, That was a nice catalyst to send us into euphoria. We don't need a catalyst. We don't
Nope.
necessarily need one. So
Yeah, show me the charts. I'll tell you the news. By the way, like the catalyst is too late. Like,
yeah,
did you want to buy before Tesla bought or after? Because
before.
we've seen it. You know what I mean? Like that's a perfect example. Like we go to bed one night, Bitcoin's at what, like $40,000, and one candle, it's at $50,000.
Yeah.
Like we've seen that.
All right. What else?
Still think the top's not in. I still think the top's. I don't know if you missed our TA, but we both have the same reaccumulation schematic.
Yeah. At the spring phase. And even I just want to re-emphasize something like, there's a guy I follow on X. His name's Jordan Lindsay. And he says, he's been saying this over and over again for a while, which is that the top for this cycle, he believes, is closer to the 2028 halving than the 2024 halving. So think about that. The 2024 halving wasn't even a year ago at this point. So we have at least another 14 months, in his opinion, but probably more than that, to where the top for the cycle would be in. And whether or not Devin agrees with that, I'm just going to tell you right now, I have been saying this a long time. Does that mean that 108 was the peak for now, and we're going to a bear market and see you later, come back in 2027 for the top? No. That means that whatever Bitcoin peaks at in 2025, I believe, I am actually quite convinced that we will see a higher price for that in 2026 or 2027. And that's been the big thing that I've been a believer in for quite a while. So no matter what, I do not believe the top is in.
Yeah, especially for the altcoins. I mean, they're literally at their bear market lows. Like, what do you expect them to do from here? Is it possible to break through, 3 years worth of support? Anything's possible, but is that probable? Is that likely? No. Like, if you want to bring up like crazy anxiety, fear, like, oh, what if a meteor comes and dinosaurs invade? Like, sure, I'll grant you that. But any real world where we live in a normal world, and the sun comes up tomorrow, the probability that the altcoins with good tokenomics are going to break their bear market lows is not going to happen.
Same deal as last week. I mean, somebody asked you, or somebody was saying, you guys seem more bearish than last week. And it's like, I mean, we're not 100% unaffected by price action, but like, it's still the same thing is true that, Flux was an example that you gave last week. Flux, the risk to reward is so unbelievably in your favor. If you buy Flux right now, you might see some short-term losses, but the losses should be very minimal. So what do we have
I'm
here?
not I'm not bearish even a little bit.
Yeah, I'm
Just to
willing
be,
to be bearish. All right,
I'm
so
willing
you're
to be
not
bearish,
even. Go ahead.
especially on like I see a scenario where like we talked about it, the CME gap for Bitcoin. Sure, like I'll grant you that. Sure, I'll concede that. I don't think that that's even going to happen right now. However, specifically for the altcoins, there has not been, most of the time I do very much macro analysis. I'm like bullish. It's better to DCA because, like it's, we're macro. But in the very micro right now, within, as in like this day, today, February 26, 2025, I have not been this bullish on the altcoins since the Japan rate cut and maybe since FTX went to zero.
There we go.
I feel today similarly about the altcoins with good tokenomics that I felt about Bitcoin during the Japan rate cut. And I was making videos the day of the Japan rate cut saying that this was a bottom. And so I don't think that Bitcoin makes a new low, but I am very confident that the altcoins have bottomed. That's my analysis.
All right. Given that QT doesn't look like it's ending this year, it is more likely to be at least in fiscal year 26. Definitely not happening this fiscal year. This is news to me. Where I'd be curious to know where that information is coming from. Do you know?
No. And I've talked about this, like 2017 was QT, so that was a crazy bull run. So I don't know. Like, sure, that'll help, but it's like it ain't much, but it's honest work. Like, it'll help, but I don't know that it's like like you have to have this or nothing,
Mm-hmm.
because we've had a bull run without it. The law of power, 200,000 to 250,000 November according. I mean, that's my
According,
macro targets. 207 is my macro target. 138 is my medium. 207 is my macro. Like, I'm not even that bullish on Bitcoin. Maybe we do a double from here, but it's just the altcoins at their bear market lows with good tokenomics. It's like that's the play right now to me.
I just, I mean, I hope that your target hits, of course. I just roll my eyes when I see the 2025 version of the stock to flow model. So stock to flow, we were supposed to go up to, I don't even remember how much, but then I remember where we're supposed to range in the bear market. We're supposed to range around $100,000, give or take, 50,000 or so, and that was invalidated. And whether or not Bitcoin's so-called power law becomes a thing this time around, it seems like it reeks of the 2025 version of stock to flow.
I'm not even aware of the power law, if I'm being honest. I just stay in my lane. I try
Yeah,
not to get shiny object syndrome because that's how I get burned.
that's
But
that's how you should just forget about the stupid power law.
but I will say my macro target is 138,207 for Bitcoin. I
Yeah.
could be talked into 248, but 207 I think is more likely. Can you explain why the Japan rate cut had the impact that it did?
All right. First
Um,
of all, it wasn't a rate cut. Yeah, it's not. It's not a rate cut. It was they raised rates by 25 basis points. And so what that did was it spooked a lot of people because Japan was for over a decade the place to go to get cheap money. And it doesn't matter, you get their currency and then you can exchange it for dollars, and you would pay incredibly low interest rates on that. And so what that little bit of a rate hike did was it signaled that the party is over, and people looking for cheap funny money needed to go elsewhere. And so that caused a lot of panic where people were like, we're pulling out a little bit of Japan. So
um, so maybe I'm misspeaking. I'm calling it a rate cut because they changed it the next day and they reversed their decisions.
okay, all right.
So if I'm misspeaking, like, correct me, because the way that I remember it is they dropped it and then they changed their mind the next day. But I could be wrong on that.
I'm quite certain they raised it from 0 to 0.25.
Okay. Well, either way, the answer to the question is there during that time the narrative that was really prominent in the cryptocurrency world was economic conditions, recession. We can't possibly have a bull run because the economic conditions are worse this time, even though they shut down the entire world in 2020. But I digress. The uncertainty, Ski. And then we had this narrative of like rate hikes, um, which was uncertainty, and it sort of like played into the narrative of, oh, this is it. This is 2008 all over again.
Mm.
And so that's what it was, in my opinion. But I do know, I might be misspeaking, but I know for a fact that it was literally the next day they were like, "Whoopsies, I'm a Sagittarius," and they changed their mind.
That was an eternity ago in crypto standards. So
Not a cut. It was a hike. Okay, well then I'm misspeaking, and that's my fault. But I just know that they made a decision and then they changed their mind the next day. Um, there is a Senate banking hearing on crypto. Bitcoin could be potentially bullish.
sure.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I just, yeah, what's going to come of that? They're going to talk about Bitcoin and the 3,000 people watching that Senate hearing on MSNB. No, probably not MSNBC, on whatever channel it's on. They're going to buy Bitcoin. I don't know, man. Go
Crypto
ahead.
Poppy is spamming on my TikTok 76 times in a row. Crypto bear market has started. Stack up until 2028. So yeah, I would say you and the rest of retail believes this.
Yeah, I mean, again, if for some reason we're season, the idea that it's over to 2028 is absurd. It is
Like we're just going to be dead
absolutely,
for 4
yes,
years. No
yes,
price action. Bitcoin's just going to be at 80K for the next 4 years. Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah. What else do we
Uh
got?
Says Yeski, you are correct. They announced a cut, and the next day the market nuked and they changed course. I don't know. I just know that I'm not a fundamental analyzer. That's not what I do, but I know that they announced something, and then they changed their mind the next day. I can look it up. I'll get the exact details so that I speak correctly, but that's how I remember it happening. But I could be wrong. But I do
Okay.
know that something was announced the next day. It was reversed, and that's why I was saying that this was pure manipulation. Like you want to talk about like insider trading and market manipulation. It's like, my God, it doesn't get more manipulative than like an entire government announcing something and then changing their mind at the bottom. So that, yeah, that was my thoughts on that.
All right. What else do we have? I'm not even looking at the questions. They just
It was a rake height to 25 to 0.5. Worth investing. He now he's a top value play for me.
yeah, I mean, listen, we need to see a reversal in the market. I remember buying a bunch of he all throughout June, July. It was under $1 million market cap. And then it pumped. It did a 13x in a span of a few weeks. And my biggest regret was not buying more. When will you reap the benefits of a he spike 13x? We're gonna have to let the market lead us, but this is very similar, in my opinion, to that time when he was under $1 million market cap, and I would say the same for Solnick. So
Yeah. I mean, either way, at this point, um, 90, I think it's 98 or 99% of coins don't make it past 3 months. And we've been building for over a year now. And we've accomplished a lot in a year. Um, and I can't wait to see what we do in 10 years.
yeah,
And that's sort of my mindset. And what we're building, I don't think I think in 2024 we separated a lot from different meme coins. But in 2025, my goal is to separate Solnic from coins and build things that are not being done, um, so that we're truly in a category of our own. You know, you could categorize us moving forward as like shifting out of memes into DeFi, but we plan to do more and more and make it better and better for decades.
Sounds good.
Will Solnic ever be sold on Coinbase? $250 million market cap will is the criteria. That's the minimum criteria to get on Coinbase. So if we when we get to 250 million, then yes, but that's what we got to do first. Thoughts on Casper with the red Casper with the C? I don't like it at all. Not even a little. I never have. I don't think it's worth anything. I don't think it's worth investing in.
I agree with you on that. I mean, it's a good crypto to short.
Yeah, it has an absurd amount of inflation. It's still making lower lows while everything else has rebounded. It's just not performing well. And for me personally, the first time I ever saw the chart back in, I don't know if it was early 23 or late 22, but the first time I ever saw the chart, that was the end of it for me. I was like, I have no interest in this, and that proved to be well. Will Solana see an all time high or is it dead? Yeah. I mean, will it ever see an all time high again? Yeah, absolutely.
Ever again? I mean, sure, man.
I think Solana gets to $400 to $500 this bull market. And I actually think that Solana is probably going to have a pretty stark bounce. I did think that Ethereum was going to outperform Solana. But where Solana's at right now, I don't know that that's going to be. I don't know that that's going to be true. I think that Solana will outperform it. All right, guys. That's going to be it for this time. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. We will never message you first. We'll be live on Friday, same time. Hopefully Alvarez will have his set up and he'll be here too. All right, guys. It's gonna be it for this time. Peace, love, prosperity. Got any closing thoughts, Alex?
I'll throw out the Pakistan. Do not. We will not message you, and so don't. It's somebody from
Do not
Pakistan
redeem.
or Kakistan. Do not redeem.
All right, guys. Peace, love, prosperity. God first. God bless.